It's not feeling it. Yeah, I don't know why.
The boring part hasn't even started.
I know it. All set?
No, it says your meeting is starting.
Start without us. Wow. Vehicle crossings are way up, aren't they?
The what?
Vehicle auto crossings.
Yeah, the vehicles are up tremendously. Cell phone commercials still lagging behind it every month.
I thought the birth certificate rule would have had it going down, but
No.
no.
Pushing not being really following the rule till June or July, right? They're just giving us
That last yesterday's storm finally deplete the total salt supply down the port? Or?
Well, yeah.
No? Still hanging in there?
I'm in there with a horn.
So every time I ask, I get a different answer. Do I need an original? Yes. Next time, do I need an original? No, just the copies. Right? Because of you talk to.
Yeah.
Technology is a wonderful thing when it works. Closing the gap with that forward income, Jim. See that? That difference is getting smaller.
Yeah.
Forward operating income. Been lagging all year because all the salt that was carried over from the season before. Now that there's been more going out December and January of this year, and making up for it. Goes up to 150, 160 behind at one time.
Nothing like using strategy to increase income, right?
Right, yeah.
That's horrible.
So in the fridge, hammer and forward, and we'll feed it in later.
Yeah, that's what I said, but it was I'm trying to. That's what I got away.
Mark, all of our investments are in fixed.
No.
Fixed investments. No.
The good chunk of it's in a sweep account, which about 4 months ago was at 4.2. Now it's down to 2 point something.
So that's the big change in your interest income from budget to, or no, I guess it's last year.
And let's see, you're looking at the 95 compared with the 83? Or are you on the...
No, I'm looking at the 1 month ending.
Well, the 1 month ending. There was an adjustment in there this month, Jim, about $5,000. 8,900 compared to 11,400.
Yeah.
We adjusted for a CD that matured way back in July. That was accrued from the year before, so we caught up with it. That's kind of a bookish thing.
Are we recording?
It says here it's recording, but in the graphic it's over.
Yeah, it's not doing it.
It's saying.
Okay, is it recording the tape? That's the backup.
Yeah, that's what it says. So.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
Then. Okay, March 6th, 2008. It's about 2:20 p.m. Call the Facilities Committee meeting of the Ogdensburg Christian Port Authority to order. First item on the agenda is a resolution for buy-on. Darius, you want to take over, Wade?
Certainly. Actually, there is the public comment by citizens regarding agenda items. Is there any comment related to the buy-on resolution before we begin discussing the buy-on resolution from the members of the public? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. For the buy-on resolution, there are two versions here. I did contact council today regarding the potential for litigation over either of these. I would like to relay that information to the committee in executive session.
Okay. Do we have
So I guess I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. Topic buy-on resolution. Reason for the executive session, relaying the attorney's opinion regarding proposed litigation on this resolution. Should be no longer than 5 minutes.
all in favor?
Throw your voice.
Okay, so we go into executive session. We'll only be a couple minutes.
Now that we've got the... I'll wait until we're back on.
Does that run again, Patty?
Yes.
Okay.
Now that we've got the litigation or potential litigation issue resolved, we're back in open session to discuss the resolution of support for the buy-on project.
I don't have any problem with the description, with the one that Bion has proposed. Let's just go down to the resolution, though. Mark and you both seen this, right?
Yeah, just recently.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I've got a little bit of heartburn with the phrase necessary and proper to ensure the viability of the project. I don't think it's our responsibility to ensure the viability of the project. That's Bion's. And I think we're certainly willing to do our due diligence to make sure that our facilities are used in a manner that helps move the project forward, provided that everything else comes into line. I think our real concern, or my real concern, and I guess this may be more of a personal opinion than certainly what OBPA's opinion is that we're still not convinced that the entire project is feasible.
Well,
just based on the information that they've given us.
yeah, to answer that question at this point, I mean, yes, there are some known unknowns out there. We don't know what we don't know. But this project, so far as the transportation portion that we're looking at, it does have a significant potential to increase traffic at the port and on the rail line. As far as the due diligence aspect for the necessary and proper to ensure the viability of the project, the due diligence may be more on the part of Bayan as opposed to the Bridge and Port Authority. I mean, there are some engineering aspects and that type of thing that will need to be addressed as part of this.
Well, then maybe we should revise the project and just say, utilization of OBPA's infrastructure or something like that. So we're not putting when you say project, to me, it's the entire thing. And we don't really have any control over if that's viable or not.
So something to the effect of necessary and proper to ensure utilization of authority assets. Or what are you thinking?
Or the proper utilization of authority assets or authority infrastructure.
Authority infrastructure is probably better.
To ensure, or we could just, what if you just took that entire clause out, to ensure the compatibility with overall OBPA operations and to finalize the terms of contractual agreement? Just strike the viability of the project.
That would make it a little cleaner. So the new one would read, I'll skip the first part of the sentence, in all due diligence, such as is ordinary to ensure the compatibility with overall OBPA operations and to finalize the terms of contractual agreement.
Yeah, did you want to get rid of the words necessary and proper?
I would say yes, just because...
I'm okay with ordinary. I mean, I think that... John, what's your opinion?
Keep it clean.
The last sentence, and to finalize the terms of contractual agreement. I mean...
How about negotiate?
Yeah. That's what I'm mostly concerned about. Because otherwise it implies that you are going to finalize it.
Right. And we really haven't even negotiated yet. We don't even know what the terms are. You okay with that, Wade?
Yeah.
Mark, Steve?
Fine with that.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll...
So then, I guess we would make the recommendation that you revise that. We'll bring it to the full board tonight.
Okay. Tisha around, so we that revised, or could you call up to her to have her come down? Please. Thank you. All right. That takes care of that. Takes care of that item.
Okay, next up, what do we got?
Next up would be Essential Air Service recommendation. The next page of your packet, it would actually come up under other such matters tonight to the full board meeting, but I wanted to put it in here. Specifically, the response to Essential Air Service is due March 7th. And basically, after reviewing the Cape Air proposal using the DOT criteria, I'd like to recommend that the authority request U.S. DOT approve the Cape Air bid to negotiate the service for Ogdensburg International, and request that U.S. DOT negotiate directly with Cape Air to begin service sooner than the on or before September start date. Walking through the proposal, on the following page, you can see the reasoning behind that. As you know, there was one proposal that was received for Ogdensburg service, direct service to Albany. There are 5 criteria under which that should be evaluated by U.S. DOT. Service reliability, contractual and marketing arrangements, interline arrangements, community views and subsidies requirements. Looking at the Cape Air proposal in the context of that criteria, as you can see, Cape Air has a superior service reliability record, viewed very favorably. They've got the references to match that up, both locally and regionally. The marketing arrangements with carrier to larger hub, they have no contractual marketing arrangements with another carrier at the larger hub, but do have plans to spend about $41,000 per facility in marketing and promotional efforts to rebuild air travel in northern New York. In addition, they've committed to working on a contractual and marketing arrangement with a carrier at a larger hub. They do have interline arrangements with carriers at a larger hub. Now, what that means basically is they call it a T&B, ticketing and baggage agreement. To get away from the airline terms, what this means is you fly directly out of Ogdensburg to Albany. You arrive on the secure side of the airport. Your luggage is automatically transferred to the other airline, and you use your boarding coupon to board the flight out of Albany to your final destinations. There's no hassle, no rescreening, all the stuff that goes along with that. In addition, the service to Ogdensburg would be available on all major internet travel sites under a 9K service agreement that they have.
What is a 9K service agreement?
9K is the type of service. It basically means unaffiliated.
Awesome.
Community views is one of the other criteria. The Cape Air proposal has direct flights to destinations. That avoids the previous milk run service pattern. I think that'd be favorably viewed by the community, folks that I've spoken with so far. However, the concern on this proposal has been the on or before September start date, and that is a significant concern as this leaves the airport without air service for nearly an additional 7 months. The subsidy requirements, cost appears to be reasonable given past EAS contracts. My opinion, dealing with Cape Air, they're presenting themselves as professional, community-oriented firm with both the service record and performance references to match their company claims. They're both aggressive and competent in their business strategy. I think they'd be a nice fit with Ogdensburg, especially considering the direct flight service model they're proposing.
Yeah, I think that's a huge advantage, that you're going directly to Albany.
Absolutely.
The only concern I have, and I guess this would be with any carrier, is they don't have a contractual arrangement with a larger hub. So the drawback there is you could get to Albany and you may be sitting a couple hours before you can take a connector, or you might miss a connection by a few minutes. That's the only drawback. Do you think that DOT is going to consider their proposal? That's what I'm looking for. Now, do you think they'll throw them out because they don't have a?
No, I don't think so, because one thing that's consistent between both airlines, Cape Air has code-share arrangements in other locations with both JetBlue and Continental. Gulfstream has a Continental code-share agreement. I read into this as Continental not having an agreement with one party or the other until the dust settles under the EAS.
And then the other wild card is we don't know what Watertown's going to do.
That's
this
correct.
is an all or nothing, right?
That's
it's all
right.
three or nothing.
It's as their present proposal is written. It's all three airports or nothing. So you've got the Gulfstream proposal out there for Watertown only. Yeah. It's got a couple of conditions attached to it.
Which isn't bad, because that actually gets you two directions. It gets you west without flying east, and gets you east without flying west. So for Watertown, I think there's some advantages for them.
Absolutely.
It certainly doesn't help us out. I mean, I think what is Messina saying, or Watertown? Where do they say?
Watertown, I've not heard from. The public comment is due by Friday. We're the first, as far as I know, to go on record on this issue. Obviously, I don't speak for Messina, but they'd like to have air service resume as much as we would here in Ogdensburg. That being said, USDOT may have a conundrum on their hands if Watertown wants Gulfstream, but Ogdensburg and Messina want Cape Air, and there's an inseparable proposal out there. How is that dealt with? Fortunately or unfortunately, I guess that's something that USDOT has to deal with. But again, we are an essential air service airport. We're required to have service by law, and DOT knows that, and they'll evaluate according.
Now, Cape Air is also servicing Lake Clear.
Yes.
In
Saranac Lake, Plattsburgh.
They are in Plattsburgh.
Rutland, Vermont.
Where are they flying from those destinations? To Albany also?
No, they're actually going to. They're actually going to Boston.
They're going to Boston.
Going to Boston.
Direct from each of those, or
yes.
And then
it's closer. Again, that's why.
Forgive my memory for not being, but I thought I read somewhere that, I don't know if it's in the papers or if it was something that you sent us. Did they have a fee for what it was going to be to fly from here to Albany? A one-way ticket or round trip?
Yes, they did. They didn't have it nailed down exactly yet, but I want to say it was between like $50 and $75.
Yeah, I got an $84 number in my head, and I don't know where the heck that came from. I don't know. Maybe it came from.
I think Lake Placid to Boston.
That's okay. So it was your paper that I had.
But
which I thought was pretty dang reasonable.
But no, they haven't set them yet. Certainly.
Well, I think. Wade, I think I would agree with you that, obviously Cape Air's probably the one to go with. The only thing I would recommend maybe not doing in the resolution is let's not push them. We know we want them here as soon as possible, but if we push them to say, hey, we want you here before September, we might end up in another situation like we got Big Sky where they're just not ready to provide service, and if they try to do it and they start having...
So you'd like to see the honor before September struck?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe just put in there as soon as possible.
Not a problem. We'll strike everything after Ogdensburg International Airport then.
I think we certainly want them here as soon as possible, but let's not put undue pressure on them.
Okay.
We've lived how long now? We've already been, 2 months?
Effectively since the end of December.
Is that right? So you're already almost 4 months into it.
Exactly.
We're surviving.
I think they had factors with the availability of planes, and that's why they had that date.
Yeah.
And there were some outside forces there working on that date.
But we haven't talked to them about rental agreements or anything with the terminal. Have we or have we not?
We have, rather than go into executive session here, I'd rather hold that to go.
Sure, that's fine. But they do know what our potential fees might be to rent the terminal.
They do know what our potential fees are. There's not a good way to respond to that in open session.
Well, that's fine.
There's a second part to that phrase that's to be.
I just want to make sure that they don't have any surprises, and then they're not going to get hit with a big, suddenly a lease agreement that they hadn't proposed on.
No, everything is up front. They know about the lease agreement, the ARF arrangements.
With that one change, I'm okay to send that to the full board.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll make that change. Steve, do you want to walk us through the next item, the Skelly's contractor, the change order?
Yeah, Jim, when we were...
Just real quick, we'll have Tisha modify this for tonight, too.
Sure. I was just going to have him cross it out on the actual resolution.
Okay, and then okay, that's fine. Sorry, Steve.
That's all right. Over on the spec building, we were doing the electrical contract. He had the proper conduit set for the road crossing, but when National Grid took a look at what we had to have continuous metal conduit from the road crossing right through right for the parking lot. Really what it is, it's added, you'll see the detail there, but it's added galvanized rigid steel pipe. It just changed the configuration of what we had called for in the plans. What we thought was acceptable wasn't when National Grid took a look at it. So Skelly was able to, what they did was they changed out, they gave us a credit for what it would have cost, and then we have to pay them more for the added cost. So there was kind of a swap, and the difference in the swap was $5,800.
We didn't change the route, we just changed the conduit.
Right. and that was for labor and material.
Yeah, that's a pretty cheap insurance policy.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
And like I think we discussed earlier, we were right in the middle of everything, Jim. It's just something we had to take care of.
Yeah. Everything on schedule and on budget out there?
It's tight, but the floors will be complete probably the end of the week, all the floors, and then we'll have to wait for a 7-day break, which the first panel will be. Then we can get equipment on there, and they can start with the lighting and the sprinklers and sheetrock and doors. Probably in another, the end of the month we'll be in good shape.
It's looking good out there. The project's really coming along.
Yeah, if we got time today, I'd like to take us through.
You don't have any issues with that change order?
Not at all. Nope.
Other such matters, Jim Morrissey from CNS Engineers is going to be here shortly to review the airport capital improvement program. Kind of walk through this at a high level until he gets here. But you can see the 2008, 2009 through 2012 capital improvement program there.
So we're ahead of schedule then. That's unusual. Were there any comments from citizens about, we've got a pretty good group here today, and
just put them right in. Really, just a question, are you dealt with the resolution before from Bion, or about Bion project? Are you going to hear any presentation about it from Mr. Delani, or is that something?
I don't anticipate any questions at this point. Dominic Bassani was kind enough to join us here today in case any questions from the public, any questions came from the committee. And I think you're going to be here tonight for the same thing, correct, Dom? From the board level. So if any questions arise at the board level, Bion is here to answer those questions, but don't anticipate any presentation or anything at this point.
How many more items are on the agenda for this?
For this committee, this is it. Our last one is the airport capital improvement plan. For about the first time ever, I think we're running ahead of schedule. Usually these meetings are painfully boring with 2-hour sessions of are we going to buy a loader? But
did we want to talk about the rail yard at all?
Sure. I mean, we can talk about that. The New York and Ogdensburg, this will probably be an item for next time. But the New York and Ogdensburg Railroad sent us a letter we received on March 4th regarding the engine house project. Basically, just read it into the record here. Over the last few years, the OBPA has been planning to replace the current engine house at Norfolk with a facility at Ogdensburg. With costs running well above our estimates, it seems to be shelved for now. To locate it at Ogdensburg would add additional costs to the operation of the railroad. Since all activities begin and end at the CSX junction, it makes the most sense to have our operating center near this interchange. Therefore, the New York and Ogdensburg requests that any new efforts to repair or replace the engine house be focused in the Norwood Norfolk area. We believe that the existing Norfolk engine house can be gutted and rebuilt for considerable less cost than a total replacement. It goes on here for a couple other points. Many improved features can be incorporated into a rebuilt engine house, and we are ready to discuss some of our ideas with the OBPA before any more funds are expended on this project. Letter signed Jeremy Hebda, Vice President of New York and Ogdensburg Railway.
Well, why don't we have them put a proposal together for us and what they want to do there and what the potential costs are? I mean, it kind of goes back to what we talked about a month ago.
Yeah, circles right back around.
It seems to me that seems to be the logical decision.
There's about, I have to check the numbers exactly, but I want to say there's about $290,000 left in that $300,000 placeholder for the
Yeah, and I would think you could renovate that.
Pretty substantially.
Yeah.
That round of funding.
Well, why don't we just have that? You think we'll have facilities next month?
Yes.
So why don't you get back to Jerry and say, hey, Jerry, put a proposal together for us on what the costs are going to be to renovate.
Okay.
I assume they would be responsible for it.
Yeah, we have monthly meetings with the DOT. I can bring that up at the DOT meeting, see how we get those dollars.
Do we have to allocate it?
Okay.
Do we have to spend the whole 290, or can it be a portion of that be allocated?
Well, the scope is under our control. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen, as well.
So they were all Bion.
There were two folks here from the planning board.
Yeah, that's on Jason, right?
One, I think, opposition. Two people from the opposition here, and of course, Bion, Dominic. You found it. Hi, Jim. Hi, Lee. How are you? Good. How are you? Come on right up here to the table, if you would. Okay. Sure. Hi. Just anywhere is fine.
Anywhere? Okay, right here.
Yep. Sure.
Okay, hello everybody. Good to see you, Jim. Good to see you. Yep. Hi. How you doing? See you. Hi. Good.
Hi.
Are you?
Good. How you doing?
Tom?
John.
Wait, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Let me get you these.
Okay.
One kicking around here.
Sure.
Don't have a Tom in the family. Huh? Don't have a Tom in the family.
Oh.
When they made easels out of steel.
That's a heavy duty one right there. That's a board.
Yes, maybe. The whiteboard.
Great.
Put it right up there if you want.
Okay. Backdrop. Good. Okay. Oh, you're all waiting on me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, must be a little bit
Just in time presentation.
Okay.
We're just early.
How are you? Is this going to work?
Yeah. That's fine.
It's not going to work for me, though. I can't reach it.
Well, here, I'll just move down a little bit. And you can use the table right
Or
over
use
there.
the side table.
I think I will, yeah. That's better. If I could just ask Jim to turn that. Sure. This is, I got a smaller handout, too, so this is just for illustration of this airport layout plan.
Let me just get right out of your way.
Okay. Okay, good.
I'll be Bill Nelson for a minute.
Oh, excellent. I got a few things to hand out. Let me do that first. Let's see. Let's see what we have. Okay. First off, take one of those, if you would. Jim. Key plan.
Terry Trail. Yeah. You just gotta remake the spring. There's so much snow, we can't know it. But they're all done. Yeah. Great job.
They move.
Yeah.
And a lot of paper. One of those two, please.
Oh,
And one
that's
more.
right.
One more to pass around.
Can we give this to press? Yes or no? Will we press a copy?
Probably wouldn't, because there are some safety sensitive pieces of information out there. I don't know if any terrorists are necessarily going to focus in on Ogdensburg.
I don't know. And these two, if you pass over there, Jim. One of those and one of those. Okay? John. We'll get started.
Thank you. Jim, I noticed one thing that if we do end up talking about this on the third page, your large handout there, the green section, we'll need to go into executive session to talk about that issue.
You're talking the fence?
Yes.
Okay. Sure. I can spend as much time or as little time as you'd like to have at this meeting. I thought I would just talk about that since that's one of the projects.
Okay, we've got probably about a half hour available. So.
Okay. Well, in the interest of time, I guess we'll go right into it and see if we need to talk about that. That could be another time. Thanks for taking the time. Jim Morrissey, CNS Engineers. As I understand it, purpose of really me being here is to apprise you of the CIP plan for Ogdensburg. I do have a brief agenda you should have. We'll talk about the CIP plan. We're going to talk about the fence replacement if necessary. We're going to talk about also a nav aid plan that the FAA is going to install at the airport. It's called a WAS. And some other small little things we can talk about, anything you'd like to bring to my attention. So let's get started with the CIP plan that we handed out.
Thank you.
That's this plan with the shade on it, 8.5 by 11. I'll briefly go through the projects. Feel free to ask questions. The first project, demolition of the terminal building for an expansion. That's the old hangar. It's the old small portion of that was used for terminal. That's planned to be designed and constructed this year. Design and construct is a term we use, and if the FAA would like to see that on these sheets. There is some concern whether there's a significant amount of asbestos in that building or not. We need to do an asbestos evaluation. The best we could do is put $108,000 total cost in that project. That could go up. It could go down slightly, but it could also go up depending on the asbestos. Asbestos in the tiles, asbestos in the roof. Could be many things. So we need to do an evaluation to make sure when it's removed we know how to dispose of it.
How likely is that? Is there an outside chance? Or
I think based on the age, I would say that there's most likely some form of asbestos in that building.
Okay.
I don't know if there's ever been any type of evaluation.
There was when back in 2002 when Lockheed Martin did a rollout for the new security thing. They went through and just did a cursory of the office area.
Of their office.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tiles were one. And
okay. If there is some information available to us,
I'll go through that.
It'd be helpful.
Sure.
Wouldn't have to redo that work over again. Great. That's planned to be a project both designed and completed this year. And at the end of the year, we'd expect that building to be raised. Any questions on that?
Jim, the start date, so January of 2008, well, already behind us. Is that more of a planning start date? Or
yeah, it really is. We're at the mercy of the FAA right now, issuing a grant. It is a very strange year. If I can just speak about that for a moment. Very strange year being 2007 was the last authorized year of EIP funding. This year, the Congress has not elected to extend that for any period of time, with the exception of they have only I shouldn't say extended. They have not adopted a new policy, meaning a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year plan like there was before. It was 2004 through 2007. That's customary for FAA to do a series of years in a row so that there's plans that can be developed and not have to go back and reevaluate that every year. What the FAA has done is they have a contingency plan to carry funding through June 30th, 2008. Basically, it's a 3-quarter program is what the FAA is terming that. 3-quarter programming meaning 3/4 of the funds that they would anticipate to spend this year based on last year's program be available through June 30th. We're anticipating there potentially could be the last quarter between normal end of June to the end of federal fiscal year, which is the end of September, but there's no guarantee. What we think is happening is the sponsors would have to demonstrate there's a need for all the funds that have been allocated with the 3/4 program, and if in fact all the funds are allocated necessary for that, we think the FAA and Congress would realize, yes, there is a need for the 4th quarter or the last quarter. We think that's what the plan is, but that's just basically our experience with the FAA system. Seen this several years.
Playing games, or what's going on?
I wouldn't call it playing games. It's a matter of really tightening the budget. Without releasing $10 billion, $200 billion, they've decided let's go with a 3/4 program. For whatever reason, Congress decided. And as I say, there may or may not be the restoration of the last funds. So, as your engineer, I would recommend you move forward with these projects sooner than later. I did bring along a contract for the fencing project today. And kind of the early bird gets the worm is what I would say the phrase would be for the way the program is being established right now. Some of these airports that have larger projects that could take all summer to design, see it's a large, maybe it's a large terminal building expansion or terminal building or runway extension. Those projects are not done in a matter of weeks. There's environmental, there's a significant amount of work, and because the program is the way it is today, if there is no extension, those projects may not be funded this year. And also this year, there are no exceptions to the FAA issuing a grant for construction without a bid. Absolutely no exceptions. In the past, there has been a few on occasion. The reason for that is, first of all, to make sure that the value of the project, the bid, matches the grant, so there isn't a need to go to request additional funds, or to have a surplus of funds in case the estimate is lower than what, or I should say higher than what the actual construction costs are. And also the FAA, I think I've been over this before, possibly with you, the FAA staff are actually evaluated annually on how many grants are issued based on construction bids. So it's performance-based that the FAA staff are required to do. So sooner the better. So we recommend we get moving on that project. As you saw, recently there was a request I sent to the FAA in Albany to confirm that they have no facilities within that terminal building. And you should be getting a letter from Kevin Malloy or his supervisor at FAA Albany, and also with a project, the PAPI replacement, Precision Approach Path Indicator, that they are not responsible for maintaining that. The FAA, believe it or not, asked the consultant to ask the sponsor to ask the FAA to confirm that in fact that those nav aids are not maintained by the FAA. Kind of a crazy system, but that's the way sometimes our federal government works. So that's the terminal building apron expansion project. Okay. Second project, obstruction evaluation approach survey for runway 927. This project may not be needed. And this project is tied into the last project, the WAS. And the WAS is a wide area augmentation system. Basically, if we could jump to the bottom of the 2008 program, that's a project that's being funded 100% by the FAA. It's essentially a GPS landing system that is just a notch below what the FAA would call a precision approach system. We've been talking about this for years, that there is going to be a GPS system that will replace the conventional glide slope and localizer.
This is one that replaces the ILS system.
It provides the same minimums for the decision making for the pilot to decide if I can see the runway coming in, can I land it at Ogdensburg, or am I too far out to make that decision? It provides the same minimums as what a instrument landing system, but it is not officially called a precision approach landing system. If you read the information I handed out to you in the download from the FAA site for that, you'll get a better feel for what that is. Just not kept a copy for myself, but self-explanatory.
I got one right here. Those are all your extras.
Okay, thank you. Take the time to read that. That's what I'm talking about. That's this. Okay. I would say they finally listened to the fact that Ogdensburg has had on their CIP plan for a number of years the installation of the glide slope. If you recall, we actually started that project years ago, but told to pull off it because it was not going to get funded. So good news is moving forward with that, and that will be for the preferred runway 927. Preferred meaning that's where the prevailing winds would favor all of the landing and takeoff. Okay, that's the last project.
Excellent.
It's on track to be commissioned in November 2008. Being completely controlled by the FAA, I would not hold my breath that would be completed during that time frame. But
Jim, just real quickly, what's the difference between the WAS system and the precision approach? I mean, what different technology are they going to use? I mean, you can't do much better than getting a correction from a base station.
Yes.
And here you're getting a correction from satellite.
That's the difference. Satellite versus a ground station with a localizer with a receiver that would be giving signal back from the ground to the aircraft.
So is there a plan to actually establish that base station that sends out the corrections at each airport, or are we just gonna, would we just use the DOT ones?
You'd be using satellites for this. The FAA would be setting up using satellites for this facility. It would not be a conventional glide slope like you see with a shelter and power station and antenna.
I understand with this on quad, but with precision approach.
With precision approach, there's actually a shelter.
Yeah.
There's an antenna.
Yeah.
There's actually it's a signal that there's 3 different types. The more common one is a signal that bounces off the ground and up into the sky at a prescribed descent angle, 3 degrees. And that's so the pilot can stay on course for that 3-degree descent angle, so they can get as close to that runway as possible. They could basically land the aircraft almost without looking out the cockpit. But the last 200 feet, they have to make a decision. They have to see the lights. They have to see the pavement. They have to see the threshold. The landing system will not bring them down within 200 feet vertically to the...
That's the watts.
Well, neither one. No, none would do that.
Well, I can't. Well, I guess I don't understand. Why couldn't they do it with just GPS receiving corrections from a base station? Even do what we do in conventional surveying with dual frequency receiver, where your centimeter accuracy horizontally vertical.
That's really what this is. This is using satellites. That's what.
Right.
This,
but the only difference is your meter. Your accuracy here is probably a meter to 2 meters.
It's not as good. You're right. Not as good as conventional survey.
So I guess I'm just kind of asking the question: why wouldn't they just go to a kind of a conventional survey system where you're broadcasting that correction? You dial in the frequency, you get the correction.
I would answer that the tolerance for this is adequate for landing an aircraft, because they say within the last 200 feet vertically, the precision approach information sent back to the aircraft never lands that aircraft, never puts the wheels on the pavement. It's always the pilot having to make decision. Where are the lights? Where's the threshold? Now I'm gonna take control, and I'm gonna then deviate from what the instrumentation tells me because I can see the facility. Okay, and this is accurate enough. A meter accuracy, more than adequate. That's really, they don't need the accuracy of a conventional survey where you're doing a traverse. Or
I agree. I mean, it's close enough.
Very good system. Very good system.
Why wouldn't the WAS system really replace ILS? Or in lieu of, we don't have ILS here, so if we had this in place, could we do instrument landings?
Yes, you can. And as I said, I think to previous board members, there is a GPS system that the FAA is saying it is in the implementation stage and research and development. It will replace the glide slopes, replace those precision approach. That's exactly why the FAA decided 3-4 years ago not to install a glide slope here, because the system is coming. But now they've got it. It's working.
So is it going to replace WAS, or is it going to augment?
No, this is
the next generation.
This is it. This is a GPS system. It's called a WAS. That's the term. Some call it LPV. You see
right.
Look at all the acronyms through here. You kind of go crazy.
The thing that you were mentioning that was in the R&D phase.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes. This is beyond R&D.
Additive to this, or is that going to replace this?
This is it.
Well, in my opinion, you can't get any better than this.
This is it. Right. Well, I just want to make sure you understand. Still, you don't see the FAA refer to this as a precision approach. For some reason, within their own system, they will fall short of calling that. But essentially, to the aircraft, it provides the same service.
Unless somebody's got some proprietary equipment that they want to continue to sell.
So, good news, that should be installed in November 2008. And again, we look at it from several years of showing that glide slope and the precision approach on the CIP plan, not losing hope that they would fund that.
I know it's not anything that we have to worry about as far as paying for it. Any idea on how much that costs?
I don't, Wade. I don't have a feel for that. I can find out if you'd like.
Yeah, just curious.
I can do that. I don't know.
Annual maintenance maybe too, as long as we're asking. If anybody has a rough number.
Okay, good questions.
They will handle that maintenance.
They'll do it all.
They'll
maintain it.
Can't be like the
Even better. A gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's not like your AWAS where there is a quarterly. Yes. Yeah, there's a cost borne by the sponsor, unfortunately.
Okay.
This is different. This is all good news. Okay.
Thank you.
Second project from the top then, obstruction evaluation. That project may go away. This was a project we're identifying early on to identify the obstructions so that the approach procedure could be written. Okay? So right now, I would say The chance of obstruction evaluation approach survey for runway 927, we would assume that's not necessary for 2008. But I'm going to leave it on there for now. So put a question mark next to that if you would.
Okay.
Okay. Third project, runway 927 PAPI replacement. That's a project that Steve Belgard has been saying every year. The frost pushes the footings for the nav aid. You have to go back readjustment. Parts are getting more difficult to find to replace that. It's a nav aid, red light, white lights. Basically, they see red and white when they're on the 3-degree descent guidance. And that's a replacement. It's a design only at this point. They'll design it in 2008, and they will fund the construction in 2009. That may require home run cable replacement. We need to investigate the age of it. We need to investigate the location of it. And if there is, the construction of that cost is fairly significant. Could be upwards of $500,000. Could be. And it's all because of the cost of the conduit and cable trenching. Counterpoise ground cable, pole boxes every 500 feet. It is fairly expensive to run a home run cable back to a power source. So we'll bring that more accurate information to you as that project moves forward. But that would be planned to do it be a design project in 2008. The next project.
Interrupt for a second, if I could. For the funding on these, as long as obviously you might not have the project done before the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, as long as you have contracts signed, they'll still fund.
Yes. Yeah. The only project that you have to complete this year and get bids by June 8th is the demo terminal building for apron expansion.
Okay.
That is the critical project from the FAA's perspective. The obstruction evaluation most likely will go away. The PAPI will be a design. We would have a design agreement with the Bridge and Port Authority only. We would design that in the fall and winter and bid it for next year's construction.
Kim, and just as a reminder, don't forget we've also got that new state contract for compliance.
Yes,
we need to do
yes, which we're getting better at, but we haven't quite gotten
all that stuff inside now.
Yeah. Right. You're one of the only sponsors, actually, that needs to follow through with that. With all the counties and cities, you're the only sponsor that needs to follow through with that. But that's okay. We do it with the state of New York all the time.
Why is that?
I can't tell you why. It's a requirement that apparently the authority has, the state has, because you're an agent of the state.
Right. But a town, I didn't realize the town didn't have.
Counties and towns do not, or cities do not need to do that, which is surprising. So that's a PAPI replacement, design project 2008, get ready for construction 2009. The next project, also anticipated to be a design project, is the rehab and expand GA apron. Let's use the plan. And it's also a small drawing I gave you. What that is here's the size of the building that will be removed right there. And the plan that we had during the ALP be to expand out the apron at this location. Before we decide that's the best location, I'll be back talking to you, talking to Steve, talking to the group, talking to all interested parties. Is that the best location? This was a planning document put together back in 1995, and there are some other options here. The plan was to be clear of the crosswind. If the crosswind is ever built, we push the crosswind, continue to push that down the list. That may not be necessary, but that's the plan we had, and it would be overlaying the existing apron as you look out from the fuel farm, and also expanding that in this general location. Okay? All right? Good. It's a design project. We like these designed 1 year, construct the next year. Traditionally, the FAA would do a design and construct all 1 year, but the sponsors at the Mercy, you don't have a grant. The engineer comes to you to sign an agreement. You're not really sure if you're going to get funding for it. Puts everybody in a very uneasy position. So we like to design 1 year, construct the next. All right. The next project, transient hangar, that's the state project.
Jim, could you, excuse me, just talk about the prevention, the pollution prevention?
Yes.
That's kind of an add-on there we talked about.
I know we're under 45 minutes, so I'm moving a little fast for you. Let me slow up a little bit. Okay. My understanding is there was an inquiry. Do you have a stormwater pollution prevention plan here at the airport? It was, I think, maybe your cargo facility that was interested.
Part of the FedEx operation.
Yep. And Wade and I talked about that. You do not have a current plan that's being monitored. The FAA, we asked the FAA whether they would fund that separately. It's $15,000 for that project. They said, no, it's too small. So we wrapped it into this rehab and expand the GA apron. What that is, it develops a plan. We look at all your outfall locations. We come up with a monitoring program. We submit that into to the state for review. And then once that is completed, the sponsor would be obligated to occasionally take outfall samples to see if there are some constituents that run off the airport, if you're de-icing, fueling, those contaminants. If they're not contained in the proper location, they will show up in these outfall locations. And then if there are problems with that, then obviously we need to make provisions. You need to make provisions to actually mitigate those problems. So
and that's just like we do with the port today.
Yes,
so.
same thing. Okay, it's all wrapped into one project. Initially, they said no, it's too small, so we brought it into that, and he said, okay, fine. The next project, the transient hangar, that's the state-funded project. It was, believe that was assigned to you in 2005 or 6. I can't remember when. That's been deferred. Wade is working on getting that out of deferment. And the first stage has been completed. The second stage of that will be moving forward, I believe, basically with the letters to the state.
Yes.
Okay. And that has a $667,000 dollar value, and that's a 10%. These other projects we talked about are relatively small, all 2.5% local share. This one has a 10% local share.
And we have that in the budget for next year, too, so
okay.
we're set.
Yeah. Now, we'll move at whatever pace you'd like us to move, or you may not want us to do the engineering on it. I don't know. You have some local engineers. If you want to have those work on it, you can. I leave that open to you, and we don't have to do all your engineering work. We'd like to, obviously, but if you feel that you have others who want to do that, that wouldn't have to be an airport consultant. Would not have to be. If you want to, if that's in next year's budget, what I would do though.
Let me be clear. Our new budget year starts April 1.
Okay.
It's in our April 1, 2008 budget.
My intent is to on the expand and rehab the apron. We definitely want to have the footprint of that transient hangar nailed down, so that we can do all we can do on that apron project that's federally funded to provide as much pavement as close to or right up to that building as possible. The building may not be there, but the infrastructure for that building should be put in with that apron project. Okay, 10%, $667,000. Okay. In addition to that, you were awarded a grant from the state. That's the next project.
Just a quick question: would engineering is the engineering part of that cost? Will the state fund the engineering?
Yes, it should say design and construct.
Okay.
Glad you brought that up. That's a total project. Cannot exceed that. The FAA does allow for a contingency if there are reasons to request additional funds for the grants, but not so DOT. These are the upper limit. They do not allow any contingency, so we need to work together on matching that. And that's not a project number that we, as your engineer, developed. It was a number that the state developed. And by the way, that was a number that the state developed, and I think they also had obstruction removal, if I recall, in there. Originally, that was $400,000, I believe. And we talked the state into the fact that the FAA was going to fund the obstruction removal, and could the sponsor roll the obstruction money into the hangar because it was too small. They said, yes, you can.
Wait, is this the money that we were actually even taking a look at trying to get the sewer and water infrastructure out there with?
Yes, this was the money that we were looking at one point, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then would construction of the hangar coincide with the demolition of the terminal, or no?
Most likely not. It's two different funds. We can, again, I'd like to talk with you at some point in time. I propose you talk briefly to Jeff Palin about another hangar. We need to come up and talk with you about all these things.
Yes, we're definitely going to have a separate conversation on this issue, because the transient hangar is key to a couple of different things we have going on at the airport. Number one, continuation of the FedEx operation. Number two, should the Cape Air service start, we need to have a transient hangar that would hold that type of aircraft. Presently, we don't. And, a couple other things that we have in mind there as well.
But right now, the only transient hangar we have is in the old terminal.
Is the old terminal building, yes.
Which will be gone.
Which will be gone.
Yep.
Right.
So we will not have any.
So we got to time that right where we've got the new one coming online and move everybody over to the new hangar.
I think your question is the right type of question, though, because you really want to move everything together. You've got the funds from the state, funds from the FAA. It would make sense to move things forward so that you end up, when the pavement is completed, the building is not too far behind, or vice versa, however you wish to do that. It would make no sense to have this nice apron and then have no building to put your commercial
First thing you have to do is tear it up to put the infrastructure.
Right.
Jim,
Exactly.
You know, the demo in the design and construction terminal building,
Yes.
the hangar, what's the outside limit for that to take place? I mean, that's what you're talking about if you want to combine these, right? I mean, are we on a time constraint as far as...
Yes, June 30th. That job has to be bid.
But
And what we're hearing from the FAA is even worse than that.
Right.
It's tough for me to believe it, but they're saying bid it and have grant in place and signed by June 30th and June 8th, or I'm sorry, June 30th. But this is all new information, just came to me within the last few days, and we're all trying to sort it out. But I would definitely move that project forward as quickly as possible.
But what I'm saying, do you see where I'm going with that? If that's the driver in this, you need to be way ahead on these others.
Well, I don't know if it's the driver. If you think that the demolition of that hangar should not occur, and we can bid it and get the contract and get it all ready to go. If the feeling is, and every time I'm here, that hangar is not being occupied, although it may be occasionally, but I never see any aircraft in there. I wouldn't know if I'd want to put aircraft in that hangar.
No, there's no aircraft in there.
Yeah.
The only
Use it
thing-
just for
FedEx
It was rented out last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
FedEx.
Regardless, we still need the square footage.
You need the space on occasion. Yeah.
So it seems to me we really got to get that transient.
Yeah. Then I would push that forward. You have the state funds.
Transient hangar has to come first.
I would-
We need to someplace move FedEx up.
I would push that forward. We can bid the demo terminal. We could hold up the actual work. We got to get a bid to get the grant. We can state that the contract that the demolition would not occur until a certain date when the other building is in place. It'll be a pre-engineered steel building of some fashion. But if you'd like to move forward with that, you'd like us to provide a scope and fee for that, we'd be happy to do that.
Do you think there's any possibility to get those both done this year?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it isn't that they're not real complicated things. It's
No.
just like the time frame and everything we're talking about here.
So there's no special design on transient hangar? Or there's
No,
we have to talk about that we want in there? Is
It's not the lowest cost
You've got
construction that you can
on the
add.
shelf stuff, Jim. That
Yeah,
would pop
it's a
in.
pre-engineered building.
Right.
The fabricator needs to know the space size. We do some for the foundations and the steel, but it's all specifically designed by the steel fabricator, by a licensed engineer. There are some specifics. We'll do an HVAC system if the money can afford that. We'll do a small office space.